I guess we're not going to edit this, so I should do an intro while we wait for Ari. It is 10:33 a.m. I am Vince White. I am an employment attorney on this channel. On this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. We are waiting on Ari to do our current event show, our Sunday show. And I just got back from the food bank, dropped off some eggs, 5 dozen eggs, and a roasting chicken to the food bank. And that felt good. Felt very good. Love producing food here. Makes me happy. Let's turn on our light. Okay. Just waiting on Ari.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. Sorry I'm a little late. Is there an echo?
There. Oh, there is an echo. Yes.
There is. Okay. Let me leave and come back. How's this? Well, I guess you have to speak.
Test. Perfectly fixed. Amazing. I
Okay.
I wonder what that issue is. That's fascinating.
I know. It's just always the first go doesn't work.
I guess not. such as is in life. All right, everybody. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. On this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. But not today. Today, we're doing our weekend show, a current events show with our co-host Ari.
Hello. Hi everyone. I'm Ariella or Ari Steinhorn, and I'm a writer, a storyteller, freelance journalist, a former and sometimes current publicist, and I help people tell their workplace stories. And I've partnered with Vince in a number of such stories. Happy weekend. Happy Mother's Day, if this is going out on Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, this will go out today. I think no edits. No what's that? No safety line, no net. What do they call it? I don't even know. What's
No, no,
the no net. Yep.
no,
So I'm
no.
very excited. We'll do our current event show. We don't usually take edits anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so let's start with this story about non-compete agreements in Florida. Have you heard of this, Vince? That I saw this article that non-competes are, there's a new employer-centric era for non-competes in Florida. And I saw a follow-up article that this is being lobbied for aggressively by, I believe, some hedge fund. Um, but wondering if you have heard of this.
So
Lobby.
you brought this to my attention, but I looked into it a little bit. And I think the thing to remember with non-competes is they are not good for the government and not good for the worker. So to get like an extended non-compete, you really have to spend some cash because you essentially need politicians to act contrary to their own interest. They
Mm,
want these high earning individuals to work because then they get more tax money. So this non-compete, extending the non-compete, you really got to pay for that, right? Because it's taking tax dollars out of the government.
hmm I just looked it up and it's Citadel, the hedge fund that's been lobbying. It actually reminds me of there's a really great TV show on Apple TV right now about starring John Hamm of Mad Men. And he worked at a hedge fund until he had a relationship with a subordinate, not his direct subordinate, but someone who was underneath him. And she actually was not the one who reported him because it was consensual and private. But somebody else found out, wanted him out. You leveraged that to get him out of his job. And because he had signed a non-compete, he was unable to join other hedge funds, and he was experiencing lifestyle creep because he has this ex-wife and kids, and they have these huge houses, and he was supporting his sister, um, and then he starts committing petty theft because excuse me, he's unable to work at any other hedge fund because of this non-compete that he signed. But I guess it's pretty common. I think I have a friend whose husband, he ran into this issue and he couldn't take his what are they called, his model to a different hedge fund because that was even though it came from his brain, it was considered the intellectual property of the hedge fund.
Hedge fund. I mean, I would imagine we both have a number of friends who work at hedge funds. It's so strange hearing them talk because it's like the same conversations you have with somebody like, oh my God, Tina in HR laughed at my kid. And then you like talk to a hedge fund person and they're like, yeah, Tina in HR laughed at my kid. And then we lost $10 billion. And it's just like the same human dramas, but on a different, like with a different baseline, I guess. Like it's
It's so
so
true. Like
strange.
what's at stake is just bizarre.
Yeah, it is. And then like everybody who does like risk analysis, and it's just him running around being like, no, don't do this all the time. And then being like, good, good. Yes, you're doing your job. Thank you for telling us this is risky. We're going to do it. And it's just like a strange world to me.
Yeah, totally. But I just think that, I mean, already, I guess if you're working for a hedge fund, you're not expecting the most joyous workplace. Or maybe for you it is joyous if you're just highly competitive and like to be cutthroat and that's your thing, which is totally fine. But I feel like with this non-compete thing, it just completely it means that you are but like you have to be somewhere for life, or or at least have saved up enough money, so that if you leave up somewhere and then your non-compete expires after a certain number of years, you can just hang out before jumping to another place. And I wonder if it also applies to, like, if you started your own shop rather than going to another hedge fund, like, is that considered breaking a non-compete if you leave a hedge fund and then you start your own? Does that apply there?
Depends on the language.
Yeah.
So in New York, your non-competes have to be limited both in geographic scope and in temporal duration, and they're pretty limited because New York is pretty desperate for tax money right now.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really going the other way. Like the Florida Citadel situation is an aberration in terms of the country. Most of the country is like not thrilled with non-competes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And it's going to depend on the language if you can open your own shop. But opening your own shop is tough. I mean, you're essentially asking for probably 100 million to several $1 billion buy-in from some group of investors, right? And that's quite a
Mm-hmm.
pitch.
Yeah, totally. Um, and I remember the FTC also, I mean, things have changed since Trump took office, but the FTC was also pushing for the elimination of non-competes federally under Lena Khan.
Yeah, Lena Khan was doing work, no question.
As,
I always wondered why the Biden administration wouldn't back her. I mean, I know lobbying, but like
yeah,
that was such a potential win for them. Like, look what we did. We did the right
yeah,
thing, and they didn't want it.
yeah. By the way, I find this super, I'm just scanning through this article again. I find this super ironic. The name of the law in Florida is the Choice Act.
But you gotta have a snappy name.
That's some double speak.
Also, they might. I mean, the Choice Act sounds like her body, her choice. It's almost
Yeah.
designed to trick people into supporting it, right?
Exactly. But it's an acronym for contracts honoring opportunity, investment, confidentiality, and economic growth. And that's deceptive.
Yeah, I wonder what was going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe they had to trick somebody.
Maybe the pro-choice people in Florida should co-opt it.
They should.
And say DeSantis is now backing pro-abortion rights. Um, cool. All right. So let's see what's next. In Let's see, there's a change in New York City. So employers with 4 or more employees in New York City must post lactation accommodation policies physically and on an intranet if the employer has one. They must clearly display in a prominent workplace location their accommodation room policies. The employer has to provide a clean, private space separate from the bathroom for lactating employees. I mean, that's super progressive.
It is. It's amazing. I mean, I'm like rubbing my face like in stress thinking about lactation rates right now because we've had so many bizarre like people in dirty like closets as their lactation room, people
Mhm.
having their pumped milk stolen from the refrigerator made for that and not stolen by other mothers, we'll put it that way. Like horrific like cameras in the lactation room. Like
What?
it's been wild. And like building out those rights is so important for getting women back in the workplace and kind of
Mhm.
like evening up the divide there. Um, so I think this is great. I mean, this is good. I don't know how much difference putting a sign up does, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I imagine I did work with this company once that they basically provided parental leave coaching services for employers who were who like had really progressive parental leave policies that were actually backfiring because they didn't know how to welcome moms and dads back into the workplace. And we ran this survey, and some of the responses were just bizarre. Like like dirty, as you say, like dirty rooms. I've never heard of cameras. That's sick.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if it was on accident or someone was placing
it was
cameras
not.
in lactation. Oh
It
my
was
God.
not on accident.
Yeah, I suspected probably not. Um,
I accidentally left my camera in the lactation room. My bad. Like what? What? Like,
like
oh, okay.
I wasn't sure if it was like, there's a security camera that's like pointed in a direction that gets a glimpse of someone in the, but I guess it should be
Sure.
private anyway.
They should
Um,
be fully enclosed, is my understanding. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's a big issue. And just also, time for workers to not have meetings scheduled when they have to go and pump and such. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But yeah, you're right. I don't know if like necessarily a poster will help, but who knows? At least they're moving somewhat in the right direction.
If the poster included some notion of consequences, which I
Mm,
don't believe this one does, but like I could see that. I could like the Fair Labor Standards Act, like the overtime posters you see and stuff like that, like it kind of like hints most of the time to like, and if you fuck with this, you can get treble damages, right? And people are
mm,
like, it's not worth it. And then all of a sudden overtime gets, you know what I mean? Like that can
mm.
have like a valuable impact. So if you kick this up just a little bit further, I think it could have some value.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay, next story. So, Uber, my former employer from
Is
10
that
years,
an alma mater? Is what? How do we refer to it in
yeah,
big
I
tech?
don't know. My a previous life is how I like
Yeah.
to refer to it. A previous chapter. So, the Uber CEO told employees it is what it is at a heated all hands meeting after the company announced it would increase its in office requirements and change benefits. Employees have to come in 3 days a week and change the eligibility for its month-long paid sabbatical benefit. I mean, this just feels in line with what a lot of employers are doing, like demanding more in-office time and, um, you know, like basically rolling back the pandemic changes.
Yeah. I mean, I this return to office stuff doesn't seem to make that much sense. Like Jamie Dimon's got his own thing going on. I think
Hmm.
at is that Morgan Stanley?
Yeah,
So
JP
he's
Morgan.
having like a pitch battle for return to office, stuff like that. I talked to a fairly well-placed CFO who was like, "Yeah, so we got to do return to office because our idiot CEO did like a 20-year lease for like 10 floors in Manhattan right before the pandemic." And it's gonna embarrass the hell out of him if we don't bring everybody back because the floors are empty right now. We're just paying for them. And it's just like that's not a reason for return to office. Like this doesn't is like, is it not
Yeah.
going well? You know, like I don't.
Yeah, just because the CEO makes a poor, I guess, business decision, 20-year lease, man. Whoever signed the deal on the commercial real estate side must have been thrilled.
Yeah, can you imagine? Like
Like nobody's signing off his leases, and he's like, this idiot just signed a 20-year lease.
at like somewhat exorbitant rates. Like yeah, it was kind of laughable. And the CFO is like, so now we got to cover this idiot. Like
Oh
okay,
my God.
so,
Um, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I think that, well, Amazon is now 5 days a week. And I think the hybrid of 3-2 is what a lot of people are going back to. But I agree with you. I think if you're a knowledge worker and you can theoretically work from home, I mean, they all make the argument that being in person is important for uh, employee connection and human to human contact and empathy and all of that. But I don't know. I just think if people adapt to a way of working, and like I'm even speaking for myself, like ever since I started working remotely, I just can't imagine going back.
yeah,
Because you make that psychological shift.
absolutely. And well, I mean, listen, obviously working from my farm, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm in the office in New York 2 maybe 3 days a week, but it's also so easy to see when an employee who's working remotely is not working the way they should be. Like, hey, what'd you do today?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like you dip in, you have a conversation, they kind of get flustered. You're like, okay, well, opposing counsel told me you didn't have your camera on during your meet and confer. What's that about? Oh, I wasn't feeling well. You weren't feeling well, so you had a collaborative appearance with opposing counsel without your camera on because you weren't feeling well. If you need a sick day, take a sick day. Like, what are we talking about here? And it's just like, oh, I'll turn it on next time. Okay, you're not you're not working. Okay, like it is what it is. Like you're
Yeah.
very clearly like on vacation or something, and like like it's
Yeah, and that's like a valid question for, I think, before you hire someone and they say, I really want to be remote, um, you have to know what that, like, are they in Bali? Um,
which
and
is fine.
which is fine. Like maybe they're really productive in Bali and they just are working alternate hours, but I think you just have to be upfront.
Our
Um,
standard is you can live anywhere in the world that allows you to get back to New York on 24 hours notice.
yeah, I mean, Bali is such a place. Well, I guess Johannesburg earlier this week for me is not such a place because it took me 3 days to get back.
That is true. I mean,
Yeah.
for us, like I'm still thinking about spending a month in Portugal, working from Portugal this summer
You
because I can
should.
get back on like 8 hours notice, right?
Yeah, you totally should. Oh my gosh. I just think Europe, I still want to just move to Europe, but that could be a fantasy.
Yeah. Did we have the conversation about which country last time?
I don't think we did. Well, we've talked a bunch about Portugal, but so my mom is German, so I can get my
Mm,
German passport through her. And I actually already went to the consulate, but because we have different last names, it's an added layer of bureaucracy, and they only have
sure.
one. I have to like go to a naming declaration appointment and then go in for another meeting. But technically, I am a German citizen, which means I could live anywhere in the EU. Berlin would be really cool. I also love Ireland, London too, even though that's not in the EU, and then Portugal. Did you have when you were in Portugal those?
Uh-oh.
There are these like baked goods. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, you're back.
Okay.
Did I have what in Portugal?
Those custard treat. They're like, what
Yes.
are they called? Do you remember what they're called? They're
Oh,
so
let's find out. I'll Google it.
okay.
Pastéis de nata. I mean, it's Portuguese
Exactly.
custard treat. Yeah.
Exactly. They're so good. Oh my
Yeah.
God. You should go just for those.
I think I would go just for the breezes in Braga, like through the mountain passes in
Yeah.
like July, and then the food, frankly.
The food, yeah. And the what are they called? The croquettes that they have there, so delicious.
Do you have a co-star next to you? Oh,
I
the
do.
tail went out.
Yes, I
Nice.
do. This is
Is
my
that the loaf, as
favorite.
you said?
Yeah, this is Lofi. Um, yeah, Lofi's doing well. He has a vet appointment on Tuesday because he has arthritis. He's a bit old.
Oh no.
So, but he gets a shot and it makes him feel a lot better and a lot more.
Amazing. I love to hear that.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still think people are going to stick around at these companies because they've just become accustomed to a certain like salary. Even without the sabbatical, like what other company are they going to jump to that's going to give them that level of benefits? I guess they could, but those companies are cracking down on the benefits too. So, or they just opt out of the tech world altogether.
Yeah. I mean, that's true of this industry, right? There's a lot of people who are like, listen, I'm I'm beat up. I'm burnt out. Like these cases are hard. I don't know if I can like do another 5 years of this. And it's like, yeah, I get it. You're never gonna earn
Yeah.
like you're in this industry though. And that's true
Yeah.
of some of these companies as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next one. So the NLRB has criticized blanket policies prohibiting workplace recordings. So I do think that it's interesting because people ask me a lot, and I'm sure you get this too. Like, can I go into this meeting with HR and record the conversation? And it's state by state, right? Like if it's one party or two party consent and what can be recorded. Like New
Yep.
York is one party consent. And California is two party consent, as in you have to, that recording can't be used unless you get the other person's consent to have it recorded.
Yeah.
Um,
But it is always better to have the recording than not.
Interesting. Okay. Have you ever seen like people like, is it better even if they could be penalized for recording without consent, you've still been able to use the recording.
So one of the things that I've done historically is, and I've gotten in a fair amount of trouble, but the results speak for themselves, is just start playing a recording in front of a jury and then
Mm,
let the other side leap up and object.
mm,
And then it's kind of a bit of a catch 22 because either you get to play the recording because you win the argument, or the other side wins the argument. You can't play the recording, and the jury hears, wait, I don't get to hear the recording. I don't get to hear exactly what happened. Why don't they want me to hear exactly what happened? And it's prejudicial
mm.
to the other side. Now doing that kind of thing is not ethically on the up and up. So obviously I have to, toe
Yeah,
the line there, but
that's
it's
clever though.
paid out.
But they're saying that, so the NLRB is saying that workplace video and audio recording is protected if employees are acting in concert for their mutual aid and protection. So they're making recordings to capture unsafe working conditions, discrimination, town hall meetings with anti-union sentiment, and conversations about terms and conditions of employment. But then would something like this override the state by state rules? I mean, I guess this hasn't been passed yet and probably won't under
So I
Trump.
think it doesn't change the rules. It just changes internal policies. So they're kind of saying like, hey, you as a company can't have an internal policy against recording.
Got it, got it.
So like there's still the state law in effect, whatever that might be, but the company can't on its campuses have this rule. What I wonder about though, and I love this, this is great, but two things. One, national security, you're at Lockheed, you're
Hmm.
walking around the hypersonic missile building, whatever.
Yeah,
And like you're like, I can record, ha ha ha. Probably not. That's probably not the case. But
yeah.
also teachers. There's a lot of teachers who get in trouble for recording their students without parental consent. Happens all the time. What happens there?
Interesting.
Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of tension in this law. I don't know how they're going to resolve all that.
Yeah, I guess there's so many caveats, and just like different situations where
Yeah.
something else would override this protection. Or
I
even
mean,
like something,
yeah.
it could be weaponized to maybe like a student is not in the video, but the student was in proximity of the video and like it's used to discredit a recording.
Or even we'll go back to our hedge friends we were discussing a minute ago.
Yeah.
You're in a meeting, you got your phone in your pocket, just normal, you kind of just set it up to record, and then they troubleshoot their algorithm live
Mm,
in the meeting. And you take that recording and you do what? You sell it to the competition. Like that
mm,
could be worth easily $500 million, like that.
right,
So
right.
like issues, right?
Yeah, totally. Um, okay, and then we have one more article, but it's, how employers are worried about DEI and immigration changes, but we've covered that quite a bit, like the DEI scrutiny um, and, you know, people don't know. I feel like it's just whiplash. Everything is a pendulum that just swings one way and then swings the other.
Yeah, the only employers who are worried about DEI right now are the ones who adopted illegal DEI standards, the
Right.
quota system, stuff like that. Um, I mean, I was reading an article, I'm sure a very nice woman who like was a DEI expert. And it
Mm,
was like before she became a DEI expert and was, a Fortune 100 executive, um, she was like a low end HR professional in some company making like 80 grand. And then all of a sudden she's making 500 grand. And it's like she instituted essentially like a quota system. And then she got fired
mm.
because,
It's not
that's going to
legal.
give rise to litigation.
Yeah.
And she was like, what will I do now? Woe is me. And it's like, I don't know, learn your industry, like
Yeah.
figure out the basics so you're not generating millions of dollars of litigation with your policies. Like there's also other ways to push diversity that,
Yeah.
and people did that success. 90% of the DEI experts were able to push diversity, inclusion, representation without breaking the law.
Hmm.
Maybe see what they're up to, see if you can emulate that. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. No, there's also so much to do within this broader realm of like workplace, like job training, job placement, widening the net of people who get access to different types of opportunities. There are just so many ways to tackle the problem that don't involve going into a corporation and making, I guess that's where the money was. I was going to say is, but probably was. But yeah, there's so many things that you can solve even in this climate
Yeah,
around DEI. And just like, I understand that nepotism is and always will be an issue, and that really is
sure.
problematic for DEI, and people just hire their friends who usually look like them or talk like them or are like them. And that's a whole other issue. But then there are still so many ways, I think, in which you can influence from the outside, like the different like skill set, giving people skill sets that make them more hireable for a certain position. Or yeah, I just have so many friends and contacts working in these spaces to basically economically empower more marginalized groups. And it has to be done sometimes in concert with the companies, right? The companies have to be willing to hire and source from that pool of people. But yeah, I feel like the woe is me is not going to land well at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was listening to, and he's a comedian, but Ali Sadiq um, had a bit of kind of about this where he was like, there's some DI professionals like, oh, we have to be open to different ways of speaking and stuff like that. It's like kind of like catcalling at like racialized language, like black people speak differently and stuff like that. And you know, Ali Sadiq's like, no. There's plenty of African Americans who can in an incredibly sophisticated fashion handle business that like even those of us because I went to jail. He I think sold drugs young in his
Yeah.
younger life. He was like, no, I can switch back and forth whatever I please. It's not as if I can't participate in corporate culture. Like I sell
Uh,
projects to the giant megacorps of LA all the time. Like I'm not stupid
right,
because
right.
I knew some slang terms when I was younger and I listened to different music than you. So like, I mean, there's a lot to be solved there. I
Yeah.
think education is going to be huge, but it's not as if these potential executive hires don't exist today. They do. And including them would benefit the companies. It's not like it would also
Mm,
benefit society, sure, but companies don't care about that. They're like, what benefits us? And like, yeah, this benefits you. Inclusion and representation will benefit you.
mhm,
I don't
mhm.
know. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and also it like opens up, like, say you're a vice president of product, or for a makeup company, and you're diverse, and or at a media company. I don't know, you're just appealing to a much broader audience and group of stakeholders than you would otherwise. Like, there are some people who don't have the cultural experience, who just don't know how to speak to that. Um, so yeah, I still think that there's hope. It's been so doom and gloom since Trump, and like it's not ideal what's happening, but also like people just have to not give up and continue to think like creatively about how they're gonna still hack the system, I think.
Yeah, I do not feel doom and gloom. I mean, in
Yeah.
terms of DEI, like I think that representation and inclusion will continue to increase in spite of the political environment. Um, I feel doom and gloom about all the wars, but that's a
I
separate issue.
know. Yeah, the wars are really, but then that is even like that seeps into the workplace too, with Gaza and and even ICE and people protesting what Palantir is doing um, to build out databases for ICE, where they're tracking immigrants, and employees are speaking out, um, and then employees who speak out about Gaza and protest are also, and university students, of course, too. Yeah, it's just a mess. The wars are a mess.
I was afraid there was going to be a nuke in the India Pakistan
Yep.
conflict this week. And I was just like one of those things where I just wait and I was like, I don't think China would let this happen, right? Not that China's like got control of India, but it's got some pretty heavy ties with Pakistan. And I was like, they would stop this, right? Like, it's right on
Yeah.
their border. They would stop it. Come on.
Yeah, I have to believe that it's just wild to think that all of the world powers have enough nukes to nuke the world like a
Yeah.
many, many times over. Like it's not even just like an arsenal enough to destroy the whole world once. It's an
Yeah.
arsenal that could continue, that could just obliterate the world over and over and over. And I have to believe that people, and I actually, it's funny, I was talking about this at an event over the weekend because we strangely were talking about college courses that left a big impact on us.
Hmm.
And the one that made a really big impact on me was the study of nuclear war, like the human impact of nuclear war, and studying Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and how the professor's theory was that actually detonating the bombs was not militarily necessary. It was more of a posturing thing to show the world that like we will put our money where our mouth is in a way, and like we will do this thing. We're not bluffing. But then what were the human after effects of like what the people had to deal with, the radiation sickness, and then what actually would happen if we nuked more than just one part of a country in nuclear winter, which means the sun gets blocked out, and um, it's just not very pleasant. But I have to believe that like some of these guys ultimately in charge, because they're mostly guys of the nuclear arsenal. I think it's all guys, maybe. I don't know.
Is
But
it?
I mean, Trump, Putin, Modi in India, I imagine. I don't know.
France. Is
Yeah,
that
France.
fella who looks real good in a suit and dates his old
Yes.
teacher?
Yeah. What is his, is that Macron? Is Macron?
Macron. Yeah, I guess he's married to his old teacher.
Yeah, yeah. Macron, uh, who else? Whoever else is involved in this. I
Right.
have to believe that they like they then no longer hold significance in the world if they destroy the world. Because then we're all just in
Yeah.
an apocalyptic situation, like basically fending for ourselves, right? It's an
Yeah.
apocalypse if it really goes crazy. So that means that we don't even care. Like, I suppose they still could have the military under their control, but you never know. And then they don't want to be out of power in that way. And I think detonating
Yeah.
a nuclear bomb would mean that they're not in the position of power that they want to be in.
Yeah. I think that's entirely true. I used to live in Nagasaki, and I will tell you for sure that their view of it is that they were nuked specifically as a show of force for Russia. That
Hmm.
the idea is that we, because their point is like, listen, the fire bombings in Tokyo killed way more people, didn't irradiate the land, were incredibly effective. These nukes were because you were afraid of Russia taking too much land and you wanted to like scare them.
Hmm.
There's some merit to that line of thinking, certainly.
Yeah.
Um, but also like there's only 300 Westerners in that entire city, right? And like they knew pretty much all of us on site because one, there's not a lot of us, but two, that city, still has an incredibly high birth defect rate. So there's a lot of thinking about like what the outside world did to us and to generations of us and how many children were lost and how many people suffered. And it's hard. It's hard. It was a tough. I mean, listen, I love my time there and I certainly got along, but it's not like living in Tokyo. I'll tell you that.
Hmm. I didn't know you lived there. I knew you were in Japan, but I didn't know it was Nagasaki.
Yeah, I for whatever reason decided to go hard. I don't know. It was I think Tokyo would have been more fun, but I certainly enjoyed my time in Nagasaki.
Yeah. Wow. I still want to go to Japan. I haven't been.
You should. I think I'm running a trip to Japan in 2026, winter 2026, starting in
Ooh.
Hokkaido and then dropping down to Tokyo and then eventually to the Kyushu island with Nagasaki.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so ski trip to start and then urban party trip after that.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Are we done with the stories?
We are.
Ari, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Anything you want to link down below or talk about?
I will link down below my my Substack, which is where I post my personal writings, my investigations that I'm working on, and I'll also post my socials too, in case people want to follow along there.
Amazing. I'm doing everything solo today. So if you want to shoot that over to me really quick, I'll get that up. And everybody, like, subscribe, comment down below, share our channel so it can grow. Check out Ari's work. It's fantastic. Some of the articles we posted in yesterday's video that Ari wrote, fascinating. You got to check them out. Ari, have a great Sunday. Have a great Mother's Day.
Yes, you too. Okay, bye, Vince.